Welcome to the new place for local and regional high school sports talk and analysis in Central Kentucky. And thanks to our great sponsors, Jack Burford Chevrolet in Richmond, off the EKU bypass. Visit them online at jackburford.com. Express Roofing, they have you covered. Visit them online at expressroofing.net. Set up your free estimate now. Now, back to the show. This program is sponsored by Cumberland Valley National Bank and Trust. Visit their new location in Berea.
Welcome back to BluegrassHighSchoolSports.com and FayettECountySchoolSports.com. I'm Samantha Burford, and listen, I have a great job. All I do is just sit here and listen to them. And they're going to give you more opinions about collegiate basketball. Who wants to start? Everybody wants to talk UK, but do we want to end with UK? I'll let you make that decision. You want to talk Eastern first?
Let's just talk about the teams in general right now.
Okay.
If you go by RPI ratings, it might surprise some people who comes out of that. Kansas is rated number 1.
Yeah.
Kentucky 2, Virginia 3, VCU number 4, and Arizona number 5. But
That is surprising.
And then your AP polls and your coaches poll are the same. Kentucky number 1, Virginia 2, Gonzaga 3, Duke 4, Wisconsin 5. And this week, Kentucky was a unanimous number 1. So Virginia got a scare with Virginia Tech this weekend. Of course, Kentucky's had a couple scares themselves.
They had several games in overtime, and I think everybody got a little nervous.
Well, they had those 2 games in overtime, and you know, when you think about it, against Mississippi, if it wasn't for the Moody kid cramping up, I think Kentucky loses that game. And then down there at Texas A&M, if Texas A&M doesn't shoot free throws so poorly that night, I think Kentucky very easily could have lost that game. So you're a cramp and a few missed free throws away from having a couple L's, but. You know,
would it be the worst thing?
Kentucky is just so talented and so deep. It's going to be tough to beat them.
And I think they got a little out of rhythm. They had 10 days off, and then they came back and they had those 2 back-to-back overtime games. And so I think that they've kind of got back into the sync. And
well, he's gone back to the platoons too.
so that could be part of it as well. But I mean, he had 10 days off, and he's all on the TV talking about, oh, we've done something, we've tweaked something, and then I'm like, did you tweak or twerk? Because the 2 games when they came back, I missed because he wouldn't say it was on Channel 18 and some of the other stations. You know, you just got to watch the team and see if you can figure out what I did. And I'm like, wait a minute. You're getting them into overtime.
Yeah.
But you couldn't see exactly how they put it together.
As good as these teams are, the fans go crazy in overtime. They don't want to lose. I think the fans really want them to go undefeated.
Well,
you all think they will?
As the season goes on, and the longer they stay undefeated, that pressure is just going to mount and mount. And like Don was saying, would it be so bad if they lost a game? Yeah, it would be bad in historical terms.
Yeah.
But I think the fan base wants a national championship.
Right.
And they don't care if it's 1 loss or 2 losses.
Right.
In the end, they want number 9, and that's what they're shooting for.
So better to lose now than later.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
2 undefeated teams in Kentucky and Virginia. Well, Virginia's coming up, and they're playing Duke, Carolina, and another Louisville. So I think they're not going to be undefeated come the end of next week. They've got 3 very tough games coming up.
Right.
Kentucky, their toughest opponent supposedly is going to be Georgia at Georgia. You know, Florida's down. Florida's not Florida this year.
What about Arkansas?
That's who I think so.
I think
Arkansas is
Arkansas
going to
could
be
beat them.
tough. But ESPN had something with the percentage to lose, and it was at Georgia. So.
Well, Arkansas's got those 2 good players, Quarles and Porter, and those 2 are very, very talented. And you know, Arkansas beat them last year.
Yeah.
A dunk put back right there at the
So
buzzer.
did South Carolina.
They
handled South Carolina.
Yeah.
And to me, I think if they're going to lose, I wish if it was going to happen. I don't wish for it to happen, but if it is going to happen, it'll happen before they get into the end, because that's one and done. Once you get into the NCAA, you can lose in the SEC tournament and still have life left. But you know, just like you said, the pressure is going to continue to mount. But the most recent game, they had more blocks. Did they have more blocks and rebound? I think South Carolina only had 12 shots. So there was I think that we had more blocks and maybe rebounds than they had total shots put on the basket.
Something
So
like that.
yeah, so
Made field goals means.
made field goals. Yeah,
Right,
they had
right.
South Carolina had 12
They
made
only
field
shot
goals.
like 20 some percent.
So they can put that, they can amp that defense up
Yeah.
on somebody, and as they always say, defense wins
That's the
championships.
difference.
So,
You know, they got the best defensive team in the country. I mean,
and the depth to back it up for the total game.
foul trouble won't hurt them too much.
No.
Virginia claims, they've got the best scoring defense in the nation, but they play a little bit more deliberate style on offense. So, that has something to do with that. And Kentucky is, it seems to me like they get up and they play better for the big games. And when they play a
You're right.
inferior, talented
They
team,
played Buffalo.
then
Yeah,
they just
that
don't
was
seem
rough.
like they're quite as sharp.
Yeah.
And Buffalo was a trap game too because they were getting ready to go play Kansas. But I agree with you. I think it's just the intensity. You got to bring your A game the whole time, and it's just if they can do that. I guess when the chips are down, they seem to pull it together. So maybe more of a challenge in the game. And I guess now that everybody's saying that Georgia. The predictor said that Georgia's going to be the toughest
what they act
road,
like.
the toughest game for them, the most probable for them to lose
Yep.
if there's going to be one. Hopefully they'll come out and make a statement early and it not happen. But
I still say Florida's going to be tough at Florida. Regardless, I think it'll
I
be
do
tough
too.
at Florida.
Yeah, that's a hard arena.
Billy Donovan will have
That's a
them
hard.
ready.
Yeah, that's a hard arena to go into too.
especially if they continue to lose because they're going to say we're going to be in the NIT. This is
all
our
we got.
chance. Yep,
We
this
gotta
is
do
something.
our chance. These guys probably going to win it.
Yeah.
You want to be the first one to knock them off.
Well, if Kentucky shoots the ball, I don't see anyone beating them. But they had the one game where they shot. What was it? Texas
Yeah, you good.
Texas A&M. They only shot 28% and they still won the game. That's unheard of.
And that was one of the
You know.
overtime games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if they shoot the ball well, Booker's been shooting the ball great. I think he's like 21 of his last 29 3-point attempts.
22 for 33 in his last 9 games or something.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, something
And
crazy.
Euless
Yeah.
is a good, consistent shooter.
Love him. He's
Aaron
my
Harrison is Mr. Clutch. He comes up with the big shots when they need
favorite.
it.
Yes.
If they don't beat themselves,
They'll be tough
I
on
think they can go undefeated. But I mean, it's just so hard to go 40 games and not have a slip up.
Hasn't happened since what, 76?
76 was Indiana.
UNLV had a good team, lost, back in the early 90s, and Wichita State last year lost to Kentucky, so
That's right.
it's almost it's impossible to do. I just don't see it happening. Not in today's game.
Yeah. Well, let's give a shout out. We got to give a shout out to our local guy. We got to talk about Dominique. I mean, we were talking about him off camera, but your thoughts? I mean, it is nice to see him go in the game, but we all know we want to see him play more.
He's got a quick hook. Seems like when he gets in there, he doesn't stay long. I don't know what it is, I mean, he'll play 7 minutes and then he won't get back on the floor.
Yeah.
My frustration with it and just being a fan is that I don't know what type of an agreement he has with the Twins because I don't care how bad they play, they're going to play.
Yeah.
I
That could be
just
the
don't-
Twins' dad.
Well, I don't know who it is, but I'm just sitting there thinking, how can you? And we're all fans, and you'll catch with Calipari right now. About the first 3 or 4 minutes of any conversation he has, now the first thing he's going to do is going to tell you Andrew Harrison did something good.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's already deflecting it right there. Because he knows. And I read in the paper the other day, he said if there's a car wreck on 75, it's Andrew Harrison's fault. If there's a car, somebody gets stuck in the snow, everything is his fault all the time. But you can watch. I mean, the other game we were playing a couple of weeks ago. I mean, we had an 8-point lead. He gets in the game, 2 turnovers and 2 missed shots, and the other team's tied us up.
Right.
But he's still playing.
Yeah.
So I just don't. I don't get when you have somebody obviously that we care about and we know we want to see play
Yeah, we want to see
Dominique,
him play more.
and he comes out and you can see the game develop around him and his
He's
participation,
energetic.
and then all of a sudden he's on the bench. And you got people out there, and I just hate the body language of the Twins. I love them; they're just kids, but I mean,
They're whining.
they're just pouting. When they're on the
I'm putting it
bench
out
and they're
there.
not
Pout
playing,
too
they're
much.
stoic. They're not
Putting it
cheering
out
their
there.
team on. They're
They're
over
whining.
here. I just don't. I don't get that vibe. But I'm not going to complain because they're kids. They all have different emotions, different things going on that you and I don't even have a clue about.
No, real.
So I mean, Cal. I mean, when you're winning these games and putting consistent, Final Four teams and final teams on the floor, how are you going to question him? That's my only take as a fan is the effort, the passion, the energy. and then you go and let somebody else continually work the other way in the game.
Well, it's so hard. How many programs have Mr. Basketball sitting on the bench? You know,
Yes.
Derek Willis and Dominic Hawkins
Yep.
are the 11th and 12th men on the team, but you're competing against the Harrisons,
McDonald
Euless,
All-Americans.
Booker. I mean, that is really tough to
You're-
break into that lineup with that kind of high school All-American
Yeah.
competition.
That's it. Year in, year out, there are McDonald All-Americans in front of you.
And Dominique is an energy guy, just like you said. And when he comes in, they're looking for him to initiate their defense, put pressure on the ball, and play his role. He's never going to be a big scorer for them, not with all the talent that is
He
up
doesn't
there.
have to. It's not his job.
But his role is to come in and get them going, and that's why he started him the other night.
He didn't do it at Central. He let the game go. He wouldn't step up until the fourth quarter. The state tournament game, they were the last 3 games they played. They were down by double digits at the end of the third quarter, and he would come back. He would let the game come to him. He didn't try to force any issues. It's just not the way that he plays. But when I went to Marshall County and watched him play the Twins,
Yeah.
he outplayed them.
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't. I mean, outscored both of them.
He outscored both.
You know, and to me, and I see that a lot in recruiting. I mean, sometimes it's not really the team that you play for and the area that you come from has a big deal of what coaches think that you're capable of doing. And obviously, they're all Division I talent. But I see it, you know, in softball the same way. I see kids that, you know, girls over here in Eastern Kentucky throw 64, 65 miles an hour, fast pitch, won't touch them with the 10-foot pole. You put them over at Ballard's high school team, they're going to get recruited by Tennessee every time. Same type of kid, same type of student, same type of athlete. And so what I mean by that is you watch Harrison go down there at the Marshall County and outplay them. So you know he can compete with them, but they come in with all this hoopla and whatever the
They're
agreement is
overhyped.
to get. Well, and it's just, but are we seeing something different than somebody else is when you're watching these games unfold?
Andrews had a tough period, but I tell you what, the way he turned on last year and his point guard play was one of the differences in Kentucky's season last year when they turned it
At the
around.
end. At the end of the season.
And today, Coach Calipari was talking about how Andrew is so self-critical, and he's his own worst enemy. And you know, it may be that he's just trying to play. He's putting so much pressure on himself. You know, the draft picks, the people that predict all that, they don't have the Harrisons in the top round.
60. They're in
And,
the top
They
60.
do. They don't deserve to be there.
I
Well,
think
no,
it's their dad.
they don't.
I swear,
but
I think it's their dad
Well,
that
there's a
puts
lot
the
of
pressure
there's a lot
on.
of things we just don't know that are behind.
Right.
the
Right.
scenes.
That's what I was saying.
Parental
We really
pressure.
don't know.
You know, people in their ear all the time, all that clutter that Calipari talks about,
Yes.
you know.
They have their
And
friends.
it gets to you after a while. I mean, these, like
Yeah.
you said, these are 19, 20-year-old kids that are trying to
Kids.
handle all this stuff. And I think it's kind of got to Andrew here a little bit lately.
I-
Hopefully he'll turn it around.
After the way that they ended last year, I just expected that momentum, that aggressiveness, that leadership, all of the things he did at the end of the year to get him as far as he did would carry over to this year, and it hasn't. You know, and if he thinks he's just going to wait and flip that switch on at a certain game and he doesn't work for him, to me, that's why the scouts might be saying, you know, I don't know.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. If Kentucky's going to win the national title,
We gotta have
Andrew
him.
Harrison has got to play well.
And I will say this, I don't think that we would be undefeated at this point had they been gone. If there wasn't enough older people to relay the philosophy and put the program in the younger players' minds right now, we'd have 4 or 5 losses possibly. But because they have stayed, because the older people are here and able to incorporate them into what they know Calipari expects from them, it's helped the younger guys. And I hope that this will turn the tide on having a couple of sophomores and juniors around on a regular basis to help relay the message and make the team stronger as they get their new recruits each year.
I'll tell you another thing I think about UK as far as if they're going to win a national title, their inside guys are going to have to start producing. And what I mean by that is they're going to have to start finishing around the rim. They're getting so many opportunities. Coach Cal is going inside out with his offense, and Johnson and Towns, those guys have got to be able to finish inside. They're not shooting a high percentage, and yet the ball's going in there. So, you know, to open up that three-point line and turn Booker loose and Euless loose and Aaron
See, that's
Harrison
who I want
loose.
to play more. Euless. He needs to be the starting point guard. He needs to be the go-to guy.
Okay, Coach.
Yeah, I'm with it.
But tolerate.
I'm telling you.
Tyler is a great ball player. I think his Achilles heel is when he gets matched up against certain
size.
taller guards,
Size is hurting
then
him,
people
yes.
can go in there and shoot over him, and it hurt him against one game. I can't remember the game at.
Do you think that hurts Dominique a little bit?
I think at
He's
times,
5'11", 6 foot.
but you know, Dominique's got that 42-inch vertical.
But he can leap
he's
like
got
no other
long
can.
arms.
And
He's
Dominique is,
long
you know,
arms.
he's
7 foot.
going to have his time. Something's going to happen where he's going to have to step in and play an important role. And all those guys, you know, just like Derek Willis, he played so well in the Bahamas this summer. You never know when that time's going to come where you have to step in. And that's a
And
challenge
they had
when
to
you're
because
sitting on the bench.
Stein was, and there was 2 of them that
There
weren't
was
playing.
2 people on play,
Stein
Stein
and somebody
maybe
else.
Johnson or Dakari.
There was a couple of them that didn't
Lyles.
play. Yeah, wow.
Right.
So
Lyles
they
did
were,
play
you know,
some.
so those guys had to play, and they did, and they played well. So I agree with you. I mean, it's just
If Derek Willis played better defense, he might see a little more playing time. But, you know, Willis, I think defensively, he's kind of a liability right
One
now.
thing we got to remember too is, you know, coming from a coaching standpoint, you watch practice every day as a coach. All the public doesn't see that. You don't really know all the things going on.
We think
Yeah,
we
on
do.
that practice court. Oh yeah, there's
We all think we do.
about 4 million basketball coaches
That's
in the state of
right.
Kentucky.
Right.
That's
But you
right.
really don't know that team like a coach does, and that's why you have to trust.
Have you heard
the
about
coach.
Willis? What they said about Derek was he's the last one to show up to practice, and he's the first one out the door.
That's-
Right.
He
But
said he
he's-
was going to try to change that.
And the other thing is, coach ain't gonna continue to recruit the top guys all the time if these guys, so he ain't gonna play me if I don't work hard.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Because even though they might not be the best, they're still out there playing. You know, you can come in and play if you're having a good game or not. You're still going to be out there. He's proven that with you know some of the pitfalls we see of some of the players that stay on the floor. So the other guys know that they can come in and not have to be perfect every night to come and play. But
That's it.
Were we going to talk about our Eastern Colonels?
That was a lot about UK. So, yeah, let's talk about the Colonels.
You got some
Well, the men's team, they've had kind of an up and down year. They've had these great wins like Miami,
Yep.
where they beat Miami 28 points. And then Miami turns around a couple weeks later and beats Duke by 18. Just an unbelievable game by the Colonels. And then they got into league play and they're 3-3 after their road trip last week. And
Yeah.
they had 2 really tough losses against Jacksonville State and Tennessee Tech, where they were in control of the games and let it slip away right there at the end.
No, those are losses can come back and haunt them, I'm afraid, come seeding time.
Well, it will. Jacksonville State, they had several
Jacksonville's-
turnovers,
they're bad all time.
uncharacteristically turned the ball over, and then missed some crucial free throws against
Tech,
Tennessee
just
Tech.
getting a free throw against
Yeah,
Tech. So
yeah,
blocked.
lost in overtime there. So, but they've got the big boys that they have yet to play. They've got
Yep.
Moorhead and Belmont and Murray,
And Murray.
and those one of those teams right there are going to come out and
Murray's
win the
top
OAC.
team in the league by a mile and a half right now. I thought Eastern Illinois might have a shot, but Murray State's proven to be the best of the OVC
They've
right
got
now.
one of the longest winning streaks in the country right now. They've won 15 in a
16.
row. Mm-hmm.
Eastern Illinois is a good ball club. No, they came up to Eastern and played, and Eastern hung with them.
Yeah.
Ended up losing late, but couldn't catch up. Trailed most of the game, couldn't
Right.
overcome it. But and Moorhead, I don't know what to think about Moorhead. I mean,
They've been playing a little
when
bit
you
better.
think
as
they're going to
late.
get over that hump, they fall back.
Yeah.
well, it's the same thing with Eastern. I mean, they get going just like you say. You beat Miami, you go on the road, beat a ranked team. You think that momentum would go on and carry through, but it's just not. They just can't get it going. But once again, you can see that you come together at the right time, and the OVC tournament, which the Colonels did last year, put together a good run. They can get in there, and they gave Kansas all they wanted last year. So
Said all it takes.
One thing I think Eastern is missing this year is a guy that can break people down off the dribble. Outside of Walden,
Yeah,
you really don't have those guys that like Cozy from last year.
Glenn Cozy, you
Yeah.
know, Timmy Nip isn't going to break you off the dribble. You
No,
know,
he's
the,
not.
The 2 guard, the 3 guard. You know, they're just not that athletic to
And
do
it
it.
gets late in the shot clock. Really, Walden is the guy
Yeah.
that they have to go to, and people know that.
Everybody knows he's up for the mid-major Player of the Year award. He's one of the
He's
25.
just
and
a fun guy to watch play.
You know,
just an
he's-
all-around player.
he's climbing that all-time ranking list at Eastern all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Points, rebounds, steals.
Eric Stutz, I believe, is
1,000 points.
1,000 points
Yep.
and 500 rebounds.
Yep.
One of the few players to do that up at Eastern.
You know, they shoot free throws really well normally, so they've got to get back to shooting free throws good. And like we say with everybody else in basketball, Walden needs help. He can't do it by himself.
Yeah.
Stoltz can't do it by himself. So we need the Nilps and the the rest of them to get up and play well.
Well, with Eastern's lack of size, they have to do it on the defensive
They do.
end. They have to create turnovers.
And they're right
cash
there
on
in the
those.
country, aren't they? One of the top 5 or
They
so
are.
in steals. So
Turnover margin.
turnover margin.
Mhm.
So
Any other?
Another team that
Berea.
we may overlook right here in our back door is Berea. Berea's men's team is number 2 in the nation for Division III, and it's called the Provisional U.S. Collegiate Athletic Association.
Yep.
They're number 2 in the country.
Yep.
Wow.
Really having an outstanding year.
they're in the
A lot of people
process of
don't know
moving
that.
up, aren't they? They're moving to what division? They're moving into another division next season.
Haven't heard that. I don't know.
Yeah, they are. They're in the process of moving. The Berea coach comes in to the baseball card shop some, and he told me, he said the top 8 teams in that poll make the national tournament. So they're hoping to be one of the 8 teams to play for a national title in that Division III.
That'd be awesome. We have a local kid, Aaron Ponder,
Yep.
graduated from Southern. That is a
Just
starting
scored
guard on that
1,000
team.
point. not too
Mhm.
long
Right,
ago.
he did.
Oh, that's nice.
So
It's great. Any other
Kentucky
basketball?
overall has a lot of great basketball. I mean,
Hey,
Georgetown,
Western Kentucky
Campbellsville,
is playing well right now in the
Yes.
Sun Belt.
Bosley, you know, is having a
Bosley's
great.
at Owensboro.
Yeah.
Well, Campbellsville was number 1 in the nation the other night until Georgetown beat them.
Yep.
So
Cross-state neighbor.
yeah,
Yeah.
there are awesome teams all
And
over
Murray
the state.
State with the big win streak out Western Kentucky.
Mhm.
So
Any other basketball news before we close it out? No? I do want to give a shout out to our past athletic director at EKU, Jeff Long. He left Eastern, went to Pittsburgh. Then he went to Arkansas. He's still the athletic director at Arkansas right now. He was head of the national championship football. He was head of the committee making that whole championship football
he
game
just got
for
reelected
collegiate.
today to it again.
But yeah,
He's
so
gonna
it's
do it
pretty
again.
exciting. Local guy that
Yeah.
and we all know and love. So
Well, and speaking of athletic directors, our Eastern's
Currently.
Mark Sandy left and took the job at Ball State, and he just did an outstanding job up at Eastern. I know they're going to miss him up there.
yes, they will. Any ideas on who's applying? Any of you applying?
Don.
I would love it if
Don?
Dan McBride got it. But,
I like to see Danny get it,
Yeah,
but-
but I don't really know.
I don't.
You never
Don't
know,
know.
do you? You just don't know. That's
No.
always up for grabs.
That is the
so.
question.
All right. Anything else, guys? When do I get to sit down in this whole thing? I guess I'm not at the table yet, am I?
The
On
fan,
that note.
they're getting restless.
I know it. On that note, thanks for watching. Listen, we'll be back next month and we'll talk more basketball. All right. We'll see you soon.
This program is sponsored by Cumberland Valley National Bank and Trust. Visit their new location in Berea. Thanks to our great sponsors, Jack Burford Chevrolet in Richmond, off the EKU bypass. Visit them online at jackburford.com. Express Roofing, they have you covered. Visit them online at expressroofing.net. Set up your free estimate now. And remember, you can always visit FayetteCountySchoolSports.com and BluegrassHighSchoolSports.com for all the latest information and links about your school. Thanks for watching.